So you know this place already.
Hello. Here we are, again. Translation to which languages?
Translation French and English this time.
Only French and English?
Yeah.
Spanish?
Not yet, but it's coming soon, hopefully.
German and Spanish should be official languages, you know?
Yeah.
French and English, yeah.
Okay. So, but it's about the United States, so now we can stick to the English. So, good evening or good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you for waiting and joining this press conference after the video conference of the foreign ministers of the European Union, chaired by the High Representative Josep Borrell, who will tell you now more about the content of the discussions, and then we'll take also a few questions. High Representative, please, you can go ahead.
Where is the camera?
The camera is
Front, no? Okay, good afternoon or evening to all of you. Thank you for following this press point. Today we have had an important Foreign Affairs Council with a video conference with the Secretary of State of the United States, Mike Pompeo. The main point of the agenda was this, the transatlantic relations. We engage in a strategic dialogue with Mike Pompeo on our relations and on the key foreign policy issues, both for the European Union and the United States. As you know, and it's unnecessary to stress, but let me do, that the transatlantic partnership is one of the key pillars of the world order, and today's video meeting reaffirm the commitment of the European Union member states to continue this close transatlantic cooperation. We maybe don't agree on everything, but our commitment to the transatlantic cooperation is as stronger as ever. We focus on three issues and several others, but the main dishes were China, the peace process in the Middle East, and the Eastern neighborhood, with emphasis on Ukraine. And we discuss above all this in a cross-section on these three issues, the problem of disinformation, which is affecting the three of them, and mainly the one related with the Eastern neighborhood and China. Also, we talk about the coronavirus pandemic as a part of this global crisis. We underline that there is currently no better example of the need for international cooperation than this health crisis. That's why we have regretted the US announcement that they intend to withdraw from the World Health Organization, and expect that this decision could be reconsidered, because global problems need global solutions and multilateral tools. Multilateral cooperation is more needed than ever. There's a big demand and a short supply. We exchange views on China and its growing assertiveness on many fronts. There are issues that we face together in the relationship with China, and where our close cooperation is very important to address them jointly. This includes, for sure, the situation in Hong Kong. I suggested to launch a distinct bilateral dialogue focusing on China and the challenges its actions and ambitions means for us, for the US and for the European Union. On the Middle East peace process, we made clear that it is important to encourage the Israelis and the Palestinians to engage in a credible and meaningful political process. We recognize that the US plan created a certain momentum about a political process that was stopped for too long, and this momentum can be used to start a joint international efforts on the basis of existing internationally agreed parameters. And we, from the European Union, we stand ready to help and to facilitate such process. We were also clear about the consequences of a possible annexation for the prospects of a two-state solution, but also for regional stability. On that, I think that many member states were very much clear about it. On the Eastern neighborhood, which was the third pillar of our conference today, we confirm the strong European Union, United States partnership. It will remain crucial, particularly on Ukraine. Of course, we still need Russia to do its part in the full implementation of the Minsk agreement, and our position remains clear and unchanged. Some member states raised also the situation in the Eastern Mediterranean, where we are increasingly concerned about the recent escalations from Turkey. We agreed on the need for de-escalation and to return to a true partnership. There have been some incidents in the last days. You are aware of that around Irini operation. Tomorrow we'll talk about it on the Council with the defense ministers. And I also recall that we are organizing the Brussels Syria conference. It will be the fourth time we do that, on the 13th of June, and ask for the US participation. Finally, disinformation. This is a shared challenge. External disinformation actors are targeting both us, and we agreed to look in ways to reinforce our partnership in responding to this growing problem. Truth has to prevail. Democracy is a system that works on the basis of information, free and fair information. And if the citizens don't have access to free information, or if the citizens are poisoned with fake news, then their participation on the democratic processes can be jeopardized. Well, this is a brief outline of what we have been discussing during this 3 hours meeting. Now I am at your disposal to take some questions.
Thank you very much. So we go to questions. First hand raised was from Athanasius. Athanasius, your mic will be unmuted in a second. It's unmuted. You can go ahead with your question.
Thanks very much, Peter. Athanasius, Star Channel, Greece. High Representative, you mentioned the issue of the concerns for Turkey's actions in the Eastern Mediterranean. In your discussion with the Secretary of State, Pompeo, did he agree to send a transatlantic message to Turkey for de-escalation? And practically, how is that going to happen? How the U.S. is going to be involved in this whole situation? And furthermore, what other steps are you planning to take on the whole issue of the behavior of Turkey in the Eastern Mediterranean, either that is the exclusive economic zone or Cyprus, or the sea near Crete? Are you planning to discuss it again? Are you planning to start negotiations with Turkey in some kind of format? Thanks.
Yes, the issue has been, it was not one of the 3 blocks around our discussion, no? Ça a été mentionné, it has been mentioned for me and for some member states. The Secretary of State has been considering the situation in the Mediterranean, but mainly related to the situation in Libya. In any case, the situation on the Eastern Mediterranean is becoming worse. Greece and Cyprus has been rightly complaining about the fact that there are drillings very near their coastlines. And on the next Foreign Affairs Council, we will put the issue of our relations with Turkey, taking into account all aspects of this complex relation.
Okay, thank you. Next question from Nureddin Fridhi. Nureddin, your mic is going to be open soon. Just a second. It's open. You can go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, High Representative. You hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Très bien.
Good afternoon, sir. In Tarhuna, in Libya, there are crimes which are amounting to crime against humanity. Turkey is planning to set up at least a couple of military bases, an air base in Al-Qudsiya, a navy base in Raqqa. This is what the Turkish and the Libyan are discussing. So my question, do you expect a discussion you had with the Secretary Pompeo, the conflict is intensifying, and do you have the United States a convergence on the way out of this crisis? Just a very short remark that because I asked you last time and didn't get my answer. Did you have contacts with Mr. Sarraj or his diplomats the days before? Thank you, sir.
I have a lot of contact with everybody all the time. But today was a meeting with the Secretary of State of the United States, and we have been discussing about these three main blocks. We haven't gone in detail on the situation in Libya. I will be very happy to inform you of the things that are happening today, the Foreign Affairs Council, but we haven't gone on details of the situation in Libya.
Okay, thank you.
Il a été mentionné, it has been mentioned, but I cannot answer your question because it has nothing to do with the Council today.
Thank you. Next question, which for sure will have something to do with the topics of the Council, might be China, because the next one is Stuart Lau from South China Morning Post. Stuart, your mic is being opened now. You can speak.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, High Representative. So I have two questions here. The first one is about what you just described as the distinct bilateral dialogue on China with the US. Can you tell us a little bit more about the idea behind it and the format of it, and what you would specifically like to discuss with the US side with this dialogue? And the second question is about Hong Kong, of course. The law is, the national security law is now being rumored to be introduced by the end of this week, which would be just a weekend before the EU-China summit. Under such circumstances, do you still think this is the right time to have a dialogue with China, and would the focus of the dialogue change in any way? Thank you.
We are going to have a summit next Monday, European Union, China. We are preparing the summit. We had a structured political dialogue with the Foreign Affairs Minister of China last week. We continue negotiating in order to see if we can bring to this summit some deliverables related with our cooperation agenda for 2025, for the next 5 years. And it's not easy to find an agreement. We don't have it yet, but we continue discussing with our Chinese counterpart until the last minute. And you can imagine which will be the issues of dialogue between China and US, focusing on China, no? There are a broad range of issues. For us, it's important to stay together with the US in order to share concerns and to look for common grounds to defend our values and our interests. But we haven't gone to more detail.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Next question, next hand which was raised was from Lawrence Norman, Wall Street Journal. Lawrence, you can, yes, the mic is open, you can go ahead.
Hi, thanks a lot. Hi, Rep. Stuart asked many of the questions that I was going to ask on this dialogue with China. Can you be a little specific? Will this be at the level of yourself and Secretary Pompeo, or at what level will it be? And on annexation, High Rep, did Secretary Pompeo give any indication that the United States is or will rein in Israeli plans to annex some Palestinian territory? Thank you.
Look, we have been talking about three important issues. It means that we have been able to devote about 20-25 minutes to each one of them. You can imagine that we haven't been able to go to very much detail. It's me who took the initiative during the conclusions that having had not so much time to go deeper on the subject, that maybe it would be a good idea. I suggested about the possibility of continuing engaging in a bilateral dialogue, focusing on China, on the challenges that the more assertive attitude of China is putting on the world stage. It has been a suggestion that I put on the table during my conclusions, but nothing more than that, no? On the Middle East peace process, it has been clear that it is important to encourage the Israelis and Palestinians to engage in a credible and meaningful political process. For us, there is no other way that to resume talks. We recognize the merit of the US plan because it has created a certain momentum where there was nothing. And I think this momentum can be used to start an international process. But this process, from the European side, has to be on the basis of existing internationally agreed parameters. And it's not a secret because it has been said in several EU statements that the initial plan presented by the US does not agree with these parameters.
Okay, thank you very much. And
this may be the starting point of the negotiation. Theoretically, a negotiation doesn't finish with the same point that it starts. Because if not, it would not be a negotiation, but an ultimatum.
Okay, thank you very much. And since the time is pressing and next points of agenda of High Rep are approaching very fast, last question. Thomas Gooch, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. Thomas, the mic is open.
Thank you, Peter. Hi, Rep. My question refers to what you just said. Ahead of the meeting, the German foreign minister said that he wanted to propose to Foreign Minister Pompeo to discuss all issues between Palestinians and Israelis in a new multilateral format. My question is, has Pompeo agreed to that proposal?
Mr. Pompeo has not accepted nor refused anything. It was not a matter of accepting or refusing. It was a conversation. He was taking note. He was answering in general. But we haven't been into a negotiation among us and Mr. Pompeo. It was an exchange of views. I am sure he has been taking good notice of everything that different member states have been explaining to him, among them Germany, who has been very much concrete and insisting a lot about the need of preventing annexation because it would be not without consequences, and presenting proposals. Mr. Pompeo has been taking note of this point of view and other several different points of view. When you listen to Luxembourg and you listen to Hungary, there are different points of views. And he noticed that there were different points of views among member states.
Okay.
But for sure, he has not said, I agree with that, I disagree with that, I accept this proposal, I refuse this proposal. This was not the mood of the meeting.
Thank you very much. The meeting is concluded. So is the press conference of today. There will be more opportunity to ask questions tomorrow after the FAC of the after the meeting of the tomorrow.
There are a lot of issues on the Defense Council.
Exactly. So
I'm sure you will be very much interested on some things related with the IRINI operation, for example.
absolutely. So you are all welcome to join tomorrow. For today, thank you very much. Thank you to our interpreters as well, and have a nice evening. Bye.
Merci.